Our guest today is Jeff Staple.
We played around with the idea of like a Statue of Liberty dunk or a New York City subway dunk or an Empire State Building dunk.
You
got to.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? These are corny, man. I live and breathe New York. I want to do something that only a true head would understand. There was a barbecue and like this guy was like grilling shrimp on the Barbie kind of thing. And it's Eric Clapton. And he turns around, he's like, hey, Jeff, would you like a shrimp on the Barbie? Eric Clapton, Hiroki Nakamura, and James Jebbia are just sitting here with Hiroshi Fujiwara, and I just sit down. That trip and that night just like changed my life.
Terry on the wave. Shoes off, pause, yeah, let's get it. Shoes off, but the vibes stay loud. A pot to carry heat, yeah, I'm flexing in the crowd. Socks on the scene, that's a subtle little flex. Talking drip in the pod, yeah, we setting the next. Mic on fire, we vibing with the crew.
Our guest today is the creative director, founder, designer of Staple, one of the most well-known streetwear brands out there. He's collaborated on literally one of the most iconic sneakers of all time, in addition to a bunch of sneakers from many other brands, like the ones we have out on the table here today, and is one of the most well-known designers in fashion. Our guest today is Jeff Staple. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
This is a pleasure.
Give you a faraway pal.
Yeah, we've as sneakerheads, we've been fans for years, so this is really, it's almost surreal for us to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, man.
Sick.
Thank you. I've seen your reviews as well, so
Thank you so
you're
much.
really, really good at what you do.
You as well, absolutely.
You know what Salehi told me?
What's that?
He said, Seth is like the young Jeff Staple.
Really?
In his interview, and because I had a podcast on Hypebeast called The Business of Hype, and the one I did with Salehi is like a perennial favorite, and Salehi says it's like one of the best interviews he's ever done. And so he's like a young you, man.
Oh man,
Yeah.
That's a cool compliment.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, now I feel like we got to make this the best episode of the podcast ever. Oh my goodness.
Sure.
Shoot. So I'd love to just kind of start off. Tell me a little bit about how you got started. Like, where did your design journey begin?
So we were just bagging off camera on New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from New Jersey.
Right.
I was born in Jersey, so I can like proudly bag on it, you know, because I'm from there. So I was born in Jersey, New Brunswick to be specific, you know, and I'm old, so I was born in like the mid 70s, right?
It's a good time.
Yep, it's a good time. And I mean, in terms of like sneaker culture, I assume that's what you're asking about. I was a very early sneakerhead, very, very early. And now that I think about it, this, I think, plays a lot into what I've been able to do, is because I was a sneakerhead before the term sneakerhead. Like, it was very, very strange for someone to own more than like 2 pairs of sneakers back then, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sneakers were in the same category as like baseball gloves and tennis rackets. Like, you would go to Champs Sporting Goods, or Herman's was like a name of a store back then. You'd go to a sports supply store to buy sneakers. You would play your baseball or soccer or football on them, destroy them, and then you throw them away and you get a new pair. It wasn't any artistic thing that you would collect. It was just a commodity item like freaking grip tape, you know?
Right.
And so I come from that era, but I saw something in shoes that were just special, an amalgamation of like different things. When I say different things, I mean like I understood early that like someone designed this and there was a concept around it. And then this thing also has to match with like sports performance and comfort, but also style and trend, right? And it's all at that time, you know, $50, $60 for a pair of kicks.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is so cool that all of these things are built into this little like $50 product. And I just became really obsessed with it. And honestly, like, no one understood what was going on with me. Like, my parents thought I was weird. My friends thought I was weird. I would go to school, and this is really eye-opening for you guys. I would go to school and try to wear different shoes, like, throughout the week.
Yeah.
And people ridiculed me for that.
Really?
Yeah, it was a thing to make fun of. Like, look at this nerd with a different shoe again today.
That's wild
Yeah,
to
that's
me.
how weird it was back then. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What was your first big pair of, I guess that first pair that you got that you're like, wow, this is something special?
I think the big one for me was the AJ3.
Nice.
With the cement. You know, like, that was the first shoe that really got me hooked in terms of like who created this, who designed this. Is how I discovered Tinker Hatfield. It's how I discovered that shoes do have some sort of like conceptual background to them. You know, that was designed after like a fighter jet and everything.
Right.
That was the thesis behind that. Before that, you know, you think about the Air Jordan 1, the Air Jordan 1 is essentially like a Dunk upper, right? So, and if you think about the Dunk, that's a derivative off of like the Chuck Taylor, right? So it's just like from the Chuck Taylor, which is the sort of atom of sneakers, to the Dunk and the Air Force One. Those are all the same DNA. They're the same silhouette, essentially. When you get the Air Jordan 2, which was an anomaly because they made the Air Jordan 2 in Italy, it was like, I think at the time, like over $200, which back in the 80s is ridiculous, right? So then the 3 comes out, and just look at the 3 against the 1. Evolutionary leap in design, right? And that was just the most mind-blowing thing. Like, whoa, this is no longer like shoes that are just coming out of a machine fully formed, which is how I thought sneakers were made. I don't think any kid thought about how shoes are made, manufactured, and designed. They just think like it just comes out of a sausage maker looking like a shoe. You know what I mean?
And that show How It's Made wasn't on Discovery Channel yet. Like
no, none of that. You know? So that's really where the bug started for me with the Air Jordan 3. I remember distinctively I was in the 6th grade when the Air Jordan 3 came out, and I walked into my social studies class. Mr. Olson, shout out Mr. Olson, was my social studies teacher at the time. I walked in like 10 minutes late, and I had I had the AJ3s on, and I like pinned roll my jeans.
Nice.
And I was like really like proud of the shoes. I remember when I walked in, everyone was just like looked at me and then like went like that. Like all 30 kids snapped their necks at the same time, including the teacher.
Awesome.
And I was like, yo, that's an amazing feeling, And I think it was from that point on that I could define myself as a sneakerhead.
So that first sneaker for you was the Air Jordan 3. So when did you discover your love of design? Was that something you always knew that you had, or is it something that over time you're like, this is something I got to do?
No, to be honest, from 6th grade to freaking, for sure, all of high school, into my second year in college, from 6th grade to the second year of college, I had no inclination or dream or notion that I could be a designer.
Really?
Yes.
I'm so surprised. When did the silk screening start?
3rd year of college.
Really?
I could go into college, my college days a little bit more, but like, no, to answer your question, I'm the son of an immigrant family. They came here to have me. I'm an only child, right? I'm the first of my entire clan to ever graduate high school, right? So the notion of like, I'm going to be a designer, it wasn't even like my parents were like, don't you dare go into art, don't you dare design. Like, no, I was like, that's not a reality to design. Like, what is that? I'm going to be, I'm destined to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, and that's it, and then I'll buy sneakers on the weekend. So I had no inclination. There was, no child art program that I was a prodigy in, nothing, man.
Wow.
I had an art teacher in high school that was highly influential to me. His name was Michael Reed. And now, I had a store called Reed Space, and then I have a creative agency called Reed Art Department. So it's all named after my high school art teacher, Michael Reed, who passed away while he was teaching me in high school. And so that had a big impact on me, less because of art, more because of teaching. Like, I loved his ability to be a different type of teacher than everyone else. He was the only teacher that I liked. I hated all my other teachers. And to me, he taught me the power of like passing information from one person to another, or i.e. communicating. And there's like great power in that, right? So it was really more about that than art. And yeah, I'm telling you, going in, I was a 2.0 GPA high school student. I got a pretty whack 1,000 on my SAT scores. I somehow sneaked my way into NYU by checking off the early admissions box, got into NYU, and was a journalism major.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first 2 years were journalism. And then it was in the second year of NYU that I randomly landed a job as a data entry clerk at a design studio. Wow. And that was the first time, as I'm answering phones and entering messages for people, I saw other people like, what are they doing? They're just like playing with pictures and making cool stuff for their job. That was the first time. That was 1995. That was the first time that I was like, whoa, this is a job? That's freaking cool. I go back to NYU and I was like, I want to take classes in design. They're like, yeah, we don't have that. Like, you're in journalism. Like, we don't have a design school. At the time, they didn't. They do now. They have a really great arts program, but like back then they didn't. And so I was like, man, I'm paying so much tuition and I can't even now take like an elective that I want in this. I'm leaving. So, you know, Parsons School of Design, which is a world-renowned design school, is just 13 blocks away from NYU, right up, you know, Broadway. And so I was like, I'm leaving NYU, no degree, just left, and then went to Parsons. And then I really felt like this was my calling. Yeah, 1995 was the year that I went from NYU to Parsons. And, you know, as again, like the only child of a son of an immigrant family, not coming from a place of money, lots of student loans, lots of debt, lots of maxing out credit cards in order to afford college. That's a big step to just walk away from school. So you have to understand that me being experienced into this design world was a big calling. Like, you know, when people say the word, I found my calling, like something spiritually made me do something irrational. Like you're leaving school, that fucking $80,000 you spent at NYU, flush it down the toilet, you're starting all over again.
Wow.
In order to have the wherewithal to do that, it really needs to be something like quite spiritual.
Yeah. Not a lot of people get that super deep, like just drive to do something. And it's really cool that you got that because, I mean, it seems like it takes something like that in order to completely shift your life in the way that you did.
Yeah.
So it's very cool that
Here's
happened.
the lesson, though, that I often tell people is the secret sauce in that is that I wasn't looking for the design job. I was randomly getting strange jobs all throughout New York while I was going to school. I swept hair at a hair salon.
Oh, wow.
Worked at Paragon Sporting Goods, sold sneakers, worked at the Gap, folded clothes, you know, at the Gap. Worked at an Athlete's Foot, which is an old school sneaker store. Waited tables, delivered pizzas, rewound videotapes at a VCR rental store. Like whatever it was, I just did it. And then I remember my girlfriend at the time was like, I remember I was getting paid $9.50 an hour at the time at my current job. And she's like, look, I found another job that pays $9.75 an hour. I was like, what? A quarter more? Hell fucking yeah, I'm applying to that. That was what it was. And I just went in and it was like, okay, data entry clerk at a graphic design desktop publishing. So I don't know what the fuck that is, but whatever. I'll take the extra quarter an hour.
Yeah.
And I did it. And so the secret there is if you don't know what you want to do in life yet, if that calling that we talked about hasn't come out yet, explore. Do everything and anything. You know, I kind of equate it to like going to those cheesy all-you-can-eat buffets in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know what your favorite food is yet,
try everything.
Eat everything.
Yeah.
Just fucking try it, right? Because that's how I fell into design, you know, and that's how I got into it. But that's the secret, man. That's open-mindedness.
Did you know instantly, like once you found that design could be a career, like you knew like that was for you? Or was it like weeks or months of like, I don't know, like should I
it was weeks or
majors?
months,
Okay.
which to me is instantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the difference between young generation and old generation. Like instant to you is like 5 seconds. Instant to me is 6 months.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it took like 6 months where like, also what happened was, you know, I had interest growing up. I was super into comic books.
Oh, nice.
I was super into cartoons and anime, right? I was super into sneakers, of course, and sports, right? These were the things I was into growing up. Like I'm talking like middle school, elementary school. And what I noticed was that in design, I could combine all of these things that I was into and had no place in my career for. Like I couldn't be an athlete, I couldn't be a comic book artist, I couldn't be an animator, right? But I was interested in all these things, but now this new thing that I found could be like a pot that all of that gets dumped into. So it was kind of like an alignment. Like all of these things in my life that used to be miscellaneous were now like lined up through this vehicle of design.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see all those interests throughout your body of work. It's really cool to kind of see all those things come together. And it's, I wanted to ask, was there a specific part of design that drew you to it the most? Was it like graphic design? Was it physical design? Like what about it really hooked you?
It was communication. So go back to Michael Reed and the ability for him to spread information to me. It was that I can articulate a complex idea into a graphic or a product, and what would take you 10,000 pages to describe to someone can now be encapsulated into that one shoe, you know. And that was really dope to me. It was like a hack, you know. And I could sell the shoe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like imagine I wrote all of my thoughts and ideas on paper in a manuscript, and I had to try to give that to a kid. Like I couldn't pay him to take that, right? But if I somehow tweaked it and encapsulate that into this dope sneaker, he will pay me for the idea.
That's awesome.
That shit's crazy to me, you know?
love
So
that.
that idea of communication was key. It was funny because when I first went to Parsons, I enrolled as a product designer.
Nice.
Like you guys.
Very cool.
I actually entered in as product design. I took classes in product design. And I remember like 3 months in, my admissions counselor, my counselor was like, you're not good at this. Because I'm like slicing myself with the X-Acto blade. I'm like chopping off limbs with like the saw band and
Then the
stuff.
heat wire, things
Yeah,
like that.
the hot glue gun. I'm
It's the
like
worst.
getting high on that shit. You know, like, so she was like, you know, to be honest, you're not really a product designer. You should check out communication design, which
Very
is another
cool.
major at Parsons. And I went in there, and you know what? She saw my dorm and how like the posters that I had up on my wall and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And the posters that you have up on your wall in your dorm room are very indicative of who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
So she just looked around, and I remember I had the Michael Jordan Wings poster. I had like Spike Lee as Mars Blackman. I
Nice.
had all these like ads and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, "You're a communication designer. You're not a product designer, you know." And
Love
so I
that.
switched, and that changed my life.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. So what was that first, like, what got you into, because I do kind of want to talk about the meaning behind Staple, and I think that really does tie in well with the communication, because I've kind of listened to some of the things that you've said about how you came to that name, and I think that's really interesting. But before we get to that, what got you to start creating your own stuff that you would sell?
It was in Parsons. I took a silk screening class.
Okay.
It was a class that taught you how to silk screen on paper, right? To make prints. Prints meaning like, you know, you make a silk screen print and you put up on your wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so it taught me how to do that. And this is, I'm just going to take you back. This is 1996. Okay.
Cool.
96 in downtown New York City is a special fucking place.
Yeah.
We're talking the birthplace of hip hop. Okay.
That's awesome.
We're talking like every trope that you can imagine of early hip hop, like B-boys breakdancing on cardboard, or people selling mixtapes out the back of their trunk, people airbrushing on the back of denim jackets and selling them on the street, like DJs out in the park.
Yeah.
These are like funny visual tropes that we have about hip hop, but I was witnessing this firsthand in downtown New York City, right?
That's awesome.
So it's an amazing time to be in New York. And like, you know, I'm learning how to make these posters, and I'm like, posters are whack. Like at this time, I lived in Bushwick.
Okay. Way before it was what it is now.
Bushwick in the 90s
Yeah.
was wild. Like my roommate got mugged like 5 times in 1 year. in
Really?
Bushwick. Yeah. I never got mugged.
I think after the first or second time, I'd be like,
Oh, I got
"Listen."
mugged once. I got mugged once in Midtown Manhattan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got stabbed in
wow.
Midtown Manhattan, which is just like a rite of passage.
I mean, shoot, I lived in New York for 4 years. I never got stabbed, but I guess
Not
it
in
was
the
in
90s,
the
though.
it was
It's a
the
better
mid
time.
2000s.
You
It was
were
different.
post Giuliani,
Fair.
post police state, post police state.
Someone did flash me on the subway, but that's a whole different story.
So it was a different time, and I was like, it's whack to make posters because I get to put it up in my apartment in Bushwick. Who the fuck's gonna come over there and see my art, right?
Yeah.
So I had this idea. I was like, what if I put that art on a T-shirt, and then I made 12 of them, and then I gave them to 12 of my homies. And now when they take the subway, bus, and train, my art is being seen by thousands of people.
That's
that
dope.
to me was like a real like hack, you know?
Yeah.
So I started to do that. I brought in blank shirts and I started printing. And the teacher was like, "You can't print on T-shirts in this class." I was like, "Why not? What's the difference to you?" You know? They're like, "You just can't." And I was like, "Man, that's bullshit." Like, finally, when I find something that like is inspiring for me to do, like the man shuts it down, even though it was a woman. But the man shuts it down, and I was like, "Man, this is bullshit. I'm paying tuition. I'm paying for these art supplies. They're both cotton. Why can't I bring this cotton thing versus this cotton thing?" You know? So I was like, "Man, fuck y'all." And what I did was I left the windows of the silkscreen lab unlocked as I took the class, and then at night, me and a friend would come in and we would open the window and then climb into the lab.
That's
and then
awesome.
print T-shirts all night long. Oh, wow. And so that's how we started it. And then I was just giving the shirts to my friends to wear. Again, zero inclination to start a brand or be a fashion designer. I was literally just trying to put my art on a different medium that I thought was more effective at spreading the word.
It was a true love of art and communication. That's awesome.
Yes, exactly.
I love that.
And it was dope to see friends wearing my stuff around campus. And like sometimes I see them out on Broadway and 8th Street, like wearing my shit. And I was like, this is dope. It's so much fun,
That's
you know?
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's really, I have an aside story here where like, I'm mentoring like this young artist, and I gave her this challenge literally last Sunday. And I said, you can do this nowadays. The technology is available. You can make a logo and make a shirt, and the next time I see you, I want you to give me that shirt.
Nice.
That next time was 7 days later.
Okay.
And she did it. She gave me the shirt, and
Right.
I was like, tell me how you feel. She's like, when I opened that FedEx package with the shirt, it was like I had God's power in my hand. Like I manifested a real thing from my brain to Illustrator to a PDF to a shirt, and now I can give that to people. It's so powerful. I was like, I know, I told you. Like, it's like I almost gave her like the limitless pill, you know, like just opened her mind. And that's what happened to me back then. And I encourage anybody, and it doesn't matter what your craft is. It could be photography, it could be video.
Yep.
Just make the fucking thing and put it out. There's so many young people that are like, what is it? What, people don't like it. It doesn't go viral. Like, fuck you. Just fucking make the thing and put it out there. You know,
Absolutely.
That's 51% of the way.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's crazy that like things seem so big before you start them, like starting a brand or doing whatever, but like it's really just, it's incremental. It's doing the little things. And then the more
One
that you do
step.
it, exactly.
Left, right, left. Yeah.
And then you look back 6 months to a year later, you're like, look what I made.
I
Like, it's
hear
amazing.
people. This is probably the top 3 question I get from young designers. When should I trademark my patents and logos? I'm like, motherfucker. Have you even opened Illustrator? Do you even have a
Right.
name?
Yeah.
Not yet. I'm thinking about the trade. I'm like, what?
Man.
Just make it.
What do you think about this? So when people no one's really asked us particularly, but we've heard questions like this where it's like stuff like that, like how do I know when I've got the right name for this brand or whatever? In my head, I always think like it's better to just start even with a name that you don't like, and then sort of grow your way either into that name or then eventually find your personality and come up with a name. Then,
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good approach, or do you think that's something that you should? I guess it just differs for everyone.
Different for everyone.
Okay.
I mean, I know designers that create a brand a year.
Really?
Like, every year they're just got a new brand going.
Oh, wow,
You know what I
okay.
mean? Like they just trash the other one, flip it. And I admire those people because they're not so heavily invested.
Right.
And then there's people like me who really gave thought to the brand name, the icon, and I wanted it to last generations and stuff. But also, at the same time, don't overthink it, because I also knew, and this came from my learnings at Parsons, was that like a great brand is not make or break from the name and the logo.
Right.
The brand and what you do with the brand is what fills up the logo and the name, right? Like
Absolutely.
you won't die because you thought of the wrong name. There's no such thing as the wrong name. Like I think about a brand like a Bathing Ape.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you're at a conference table and everyone's, let's pull out your best brand names. Bathing Ape. People be like, that's the worst name ever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But because of what Nigo did to that brand, it became like genius. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Yeah. I mean, the same thing happened with me and the Pigeon.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah,
so tell us
like-
the story behind the name and then the logo.
I mean, when I was like, I'm going to make the Pigeon the mascot in 1999 or 2000, people were like, yo, people hate pigeons. Like they want to exterminate them off the face of this earth. Why would you make that your logo, you know? And I was like, nah, I think there's something really dope about it.
That's awesome.
And I defied everyone who advised me to not make the pigeon the logo. And now you know what the pigeon means, you know? So it's having belief in yourself, not really overthinking whether it's the right or wrong decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And sticking with it, like making it consistent throughout, products.
Yeah. If you want, again, that's maybe you and me. But I also admire the kid that's like, yo, last year I had this brand. This year I have this brand. I'm also thinking of this next brand next year. That's kind of cool too. Like just being like very like not committed about it.
Not so attached. I guess.
Yeah. I admire that too.
Yeah, because if you get married to one design or one piece that just doesn't work, and you just keep trying it, and it just never works, you feel like you've learned a little bit, but you've wasted a lot of time on something that you could have spent.
Yeah, it's also an imprisonment.
Yeah.
Like in some ways, yes, many people would be envious to have a brand like Staple for 28 years now, but it's also like handcuffs in a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I think about my friend Bobby Hundreds. right, who created the hundreds, but now has left the hundreds and is now, he has a full-time amazing job at Disney.
Yeah.
Right. But that divorcing of himself from the hundreds was probably extremely difficult.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like you're Bobby Hundreds. How are you not at the head of the hundreds?
Yeah.
So there's that imprisonment too, that like the other guy who we were talking about that creates a brand a year, he's like, I got 12 brands. Like I'm nobody,
Even for the audience, like when Bobby Hundreds left, like, those super fans of the hundreds that like,
yeah,
they might not feel the same, or they might feel the same. I don't know, but
probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found sort of a mix of both in your own brand? Like a little bit of like, oh man, I've been doing this for 28 years, but also at the same time, I've built something so huge because I've stuck with it.
I'm definitely of the mindset that I feel like this might be crazy to hear, but like, I feel like I'm at the 1 yard line with Staple. Like I just began. Like I have
awesome.
the whole 28 years later, I have the whole entire field to go down still.
that's awesome.
Yeah. It's just, I wake up so inspired every day. We just opened our first flagship store in Soho.
It's beautiful.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
We're opening
congrats.
another one in Shanghai now. Like
Really?
So, yeah. So
very cool.
when the brand hit 25 years, I think at that point you really have to sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and say like, is this the end of the chapter for Jeff Staple and Staple, and do I like evolve into something else, or do I go big and go home? And let's just know we're going for Ralph level now.
That's awesome.
Like we're going Ralph, baby. You know what I mean? And so at the 25 mark, I'm like, no, we're going like the pigeon will become the polo horse for the next generation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think, like we're in our mid 30s now, but like most of the time that we've been around, like Staple has been one of those brands that we've known about, we've cared about, and we've sort of grown with. And I think for our age group, maybe the millennials, maybe even Gen Xers, like this is a brand that's like in our head, it is Ralph.
It's solidified already
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's dope to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's hard for me to acknowledge that because I'm in the eye of the storm.
Right.
And you look at a brand, there's only a handful of streetwear brands that are older than Staple that are still active today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say there's two,
Like Stussy.
and Supreme.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
No, honestly, like, I don't know if you know of a brand, drop it in the comments.
There
but,
might
like,
be a few more that we're forgetting, but those are the major ones.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so you look at Stussy and the moment that Stussy's having now, 30 plus years in,
Yeah.
freaking like hundreds of teenage girls lined up around the block in every Stussy location in the world.
nuts.
It's dope because it shows me that like there's no such thing as like, the saying like age ain't nothing but a number.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I worry like, can a 30-year-old brand actually be relevant to like an 18-year-old kid? But Stussy shows that it's totally possible. And then Supreme is also on that trajectory. I mean, right now in the end of 2025, I would say Stussy is hotter than Supreme in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah. Supreme is sort of finding itself again right now.
Yeah.
But I am confident, in James that in the next couple years and seasons, Supreme will re-find itself.
Absolutely.
Now, me being the driver of this brand, it's my job to figure out how to steer Staple so that like we are in that trajectory where we stay relevant to a kid that is half the age of the brand. Many of the people that come into the store nowadays are like, yo, Staple, man, my dad loves your brand.
Really?
Oh, so many.
Wow.
And it's such a low key, like, compliment, but diss at the same time. It's not a
Totally.
diss. They're not saying it to diss me.
No.
But I feel like
Yeah,
hosed.
a type of way.
I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm washed as fuck. Your dad loves this brand, you know? But he's like, but then the kid's like, no, but I fuck with some of the stuff you're still doing.
Right.
Now it's become a cross-generational thing,
Yep.
which I try to tell myself is a beautiful thing.
It really is. I'd be remiss not to talk to you about some of your sneaker collaborations because
Yeah,
I
let's
know a
do
lot
it.
of people like who are watching this podcast are probably huge sneaker fans. And
Yeah.
And you have so many sneakers.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was gonna bring my OG Staple Pigeon Dunks, but
Yeah.
they're currently
in the shop right
They're
now?
in the shop right now. Yeah. So I brought a couple of just even the variety on this table with
Yes.
some of the two recent ones and then one older one, which actually apparently you signed Osman's pair back in the day
At a Ubic, you did a Ubic speaking event.
On the Clark's one?
on the
Yeah.
Clarks. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
I wore them to the event and I took it off and you signed it for me.
Shout out Ubic.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
Ubic
yeah.
was the best,
Rest in
man.
peace.
It really was the best.
Yeah.
Especially in Philly, like that was the spot. I mean, Lapstone's dope too, but Ubic was the spot. But tell us how you kind of got into sneaker collaborations to begin with.
Well, the first one was Nike, so that's a good place to start.
That's a great
That
place
was
to
the
start.
first collab. Very much before the Pigeon Dunk, though. We had done the navigation pack, the Nordic pack, and then we did 2 lasered shoes.
Okay.
The lasered Cortez and the lasered Air Rift. So if you look those up, you'll see them. The Cortez and the Rift were the first shoes I ever did. Yes, the first shoe I ever did with Nike, but also period.
Were they under the Staple brand, or were they
No.
just like they wanted your help on?
Yeah. This is pre-collaboration.
Okay.
Wow.
Pre the term collab. This was, we like what you do. You're a sneakerhead. You get the culture. Do you want to design some shoes with us? Not co-branded. Your logo's not on it, and we'll give you a check for it, and that's it.
So you were a
just wanted your
freelancer for them in
taste.
that essentially in the
But-
beginning.
Less a freelancer because they did use me in PR.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, like for
Gotcha.
instance, the little sign next to the shoe at the store would
Yep.
say, Jeff Staple, founder of Staple, did this for us.
That's cool.
So it was that. Whereas
Right.
if you're just a freelancer, you don't get that external credit. you know?
right. Right.
So how did just to stop you? How did
Yes.
how did you get in contact with Nike, or
Yeah.
Nike find you? How did that happen?
It's an awesome story. Again, the moral of the story before I tell it is that I was not looking for a collab with Nike. I just want to say that. Of course, it was a dream to do anything with Nike. To be honest, it was even low key a dream to just like work at a Nike store.
Right.
Do you remember Nike Town on 59th Street and 5th Avenue? Like,
Yep.
if I could work there, it'd be amazing. It was such a dream place.
Because you're around shoes, you get to see the early releases.
But the Mecca, you know, Nike Town was like, I didn't want to work in Foot Locker at this time,
Right.
you know, but like working at Nike Town or doing anything in Beaverton headquarters, like even working the toilets at Beaverton probably would have been like a dream job for me, you know? And so I didn't go into this process thinking, how do I get a job at Nike? Because it was such a far off, impossible dream for me. I wasn't a footwear designer. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't a marketer or a salesperson. If you're not those things, how the fuck do you get a job at Nike, right? So I wasn't trying to get a job at Nike. So what I was a graphic designer. And I got a gig designing a magazine in New York City called the Fader magazine. It's like a very legendary music culture magazine that I was the creative director of, and I designed every single issue of that
so
mag.
dope.
Yeah, it was that was a freelance gig. In fact, very close here, 23rd and 6th Avenue was their headquarters, the Masonic Lodge over there.
Oh my gosh.
So I would go there and do the thing. And because I was a journalism major for 2 years at NYU, I asked Rob Stone, who's the founder of Fader, rest in peace. I was like, yo, Rob, can I contribute with an article or two here and there? He's like, of course, man. Which was the concept that I was observing that was occurring in New York City this is 1998 now, 99, okay? Yes, 98, 99, where there was a couple of stores that would sell sneakers, a couple stores in New York that were selling sneakers that were Japan-only exclusives. So they would fly in a plane, go to Japan, fill up an empty suitcase with Japan-only exclusives,
right.
bring them back here and resell them for like $20 above retail.
What kind of pairs were these? Were these like Bapestas? Were these?
No, they were Nikes.
Not really Nikes. Okay.
But the
Gotcha.
shoes were like the Alpha Project,
Okay.
Kukinis, Spiridons.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
the
Like, just
woven.
models they didn't really sell out here.
They didn't sell them here. Before, Nike was segregating shoes by region.
Gotcha.
So there was actually this thing that if you want to look up and go into a rabbit hole on, co.jp. Nike co.jp was a whole division that Nike made shoes just for Japan. But
Gotcha.
Nike London also made their own shoes at like Foot Patrol
Right.
and the Hideout. They would get their own shoes. And then New York, Baltimore, and Philly would get their own shoes, typically Air Force Ones.
Like the city packs.
The city packs, Air Force Ones, right? So what these smart kids would do, they would buy up Air Force Ones up and down the I-95 corridor, take those shoes to Japan, sell them in Japan, pick up Kukinis, Prestos and stuff, and bring them back here. And they were doing this transcontinental manual shipping
Yeah.
without the category of resale. Like there was no resale. These were kids that were passionate about sneaker culture, passionate about being like fly and having something that nobody else had, and they were doing this thing. I was a fan of this. I was observing it.
How did you get like entangled or into that
It's
that
dope.
world?
It was a mad underground world. Like you had to, they didn't have stores. You had to know somebody
so
to know
that's-
somebody. So I met this kid, Demaney,
Okay.
this early kid named Demaney. Demaney ended up, he had like a Yahoo page called VintageKicksUSA.com.
Dope. Okay.
Was his website. Demaney ended up being the founder of Flight Club.
Oh,
Really?
that's cool.
And then he sold Flight Club to GOAT
Wow.
for some shit like 40 million or something.
Yeah, I remember
dude
when that
made
happened.
well. Yeah. So Domaney was a kid that I knew from back in the day. Another kid that I knew, shout out Sonny Lamb. Sonny was another like OG reseller. He was also one of the first kids that would buy Louis Vuitton handbags and cut the swooshes out and stitch them on the Air Force Ones.
That's sick.
He was the plug to get that early on. So I just knew these kids just from being in downtown New York City and just being out and about and just being a knucklehead, you know? So that's how I discovered that. I noticed this phenomenon and I went to the editor and I was like, I want to do a story on this. And I was like, I just find it interesting that like Nike is a multi-billion-dollar company and they're not really directly addressing this or servicing it. They're just allowing this gray market cycle to happen.
Were they
And I wanted
aware
to
of
find
it?
out. I wanted to find out. Are you aware?
Right.
Do you want to stop it? Do you want to promote it? Are you going to engage with it? What are you going to do? Right. And Rob was like, that's a cool story. I didn't know that was happening. I was like, yeah, it's happening. And so I need you to send me to Japan and do this story though, because I got to talk to the Japan stores, right?
Right.
So he's like, bet, do it. So I went to Japan in 1998, 99, brought a couple of magazines with me. I didn't know a single person in Japan.
This was your first time out there?
It wasn't my first time. It was probably my second time.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So I went out there, you know, boots on the ground. I would just literally walk in the sneaker stores and I'd be like, I'm with this magazine. I want to ask you some questions. Like this shoe, this Air Force One from Philadelphia, where did you get this from? And then like he'd give me the
Wow.
content and I would just be an investigative reporter. I put on my journalism hat, you know,
Right.
and I'd be like, I want to speak to your buyer and manager, talk to the buyer. And I'd be like, okay, the Kukini that you got from Nike Japan, who sells that to you? How do they decide that you're the store that gets the Kukini? I'll introduce you to this guy at Nike. And then I worked my way up Nike Japan's headquarters, right?
Wow.
I finally got to the one guy that determines which shoes they're going to make in limited quantities and which stores get them. And one of the early stores was Atmos. Atmos was one of the early stores. In fact, before it was called Atmos, it was called Chapter.
Okay.
But it was the same owner. His name is Homeo, right? He's a legend. And so Homeo was one of these accounts that would get the 30 pairs of Air Wovens and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
oh
you
my
know?
gosh.
Yeah. So, I met the guy at Marcus in Nike. His name is Marcus. I met the guy at Nike Japan. His name is Marcus, who determines all of this. He was the mastermind of all of this, right?
Do you think at that time,
Yeah.
like the late 90s, Nike was doing this to drive kind of scarcity, hype, or this is just like business?
No, this is neither. It was experimentation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like, this is you think about the woven. That's a non-traditional shoe. Foot Locker and Dick's Sporting Goods is not going to carry the woven.
No.
But somebody at Nike designed it, so they wanted to give it some life. Otherwise, it would have just died. So they created this program where, okay, let's bring it to these little boutiques and sort of concept test how it goes. And if it checks, then we can make it a bigger thing later. But it was like early product testing. That's why they were doing it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I meet the guy Marcus. We have an interview. I interview him. I'm interviewing everybody that I meet, by the way, for this incredible story. And I meet Marcus, and we finish the interview at Nike Japan headquarters. And he's like, off camera, he's like, so you have this streetwear brand Staple that you founded, because now Staple is 1 year old. I founded Staple in 97.
Okay.
Right. So he's like, you got this cool little like t-shirt brand. You're obviously a sneakerhead and you understand sneakers. You're also a designer because you designed this magazine, but you're also interviewing me for this story. And you're the first person who's ever even thought to make a story out of this phenomenon that's happening. He was like, we should like work together. And I was like, yeah, we should. He's like,
That's so
let's get
cool.
you out to Beaverton ASAP.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how it started. So I started, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, how did I get in touch with Nike? It was through more of an investigative reporting angle than I want a collab, which is how everyone does it now. You
And
know?
you kind of showed your value
Yeah.
before even asking.
Inadvertently, but not even in a hard shilling kind of way. Like, here's what I do. Like, I just put my head down and did what I thought was like right. And then the right people noticed. Now, the other important thing that happened in that same exact trip, after me and Marcus and I had this conversation, he was like, you know what? I want to introduce you to one of the guy. He's like, I don't do this on my own. I have a consultant that I work with who helps me determine, this shoe's very good. And maybe if you did this shoe in polka dot, that would be better,
Okay.
And he's like, I want to introduce this guy and he should be in your story too. I was like, bet, I'm down. His name's Hiroshi Fujiwara.
Wow.
He has a brand called Fragment. You should meet him. So the next day I met Hiroshi for the first time.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. So we had a great interview. This was the first time that Hiroshi ever appeared in U.S. press.
Wow.
He was already a legend in Japan.
Right.
You know, in fact, I couldn't even get a photographer to want to shoot Hiroshi because they were all too scared to shoot him.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Photographers were telling me like, I'm not good enough to shoot God. That's what they said. And I was like, who is this dude? I was like getting so scared, you know?
So you weren't familiar with him at all?
No,
Oh,
nothing.
okay, fair enough. Wow.
And then he walks in the room. I was in his office. He walked into his office. And I was like, oh, he seems pretty nice. We ended up having an incredible 3-hour interview. And then that night, he goes like, oh, what are you doing tonight in Japan? I was like, nothing. I don't know anybody here. He's like, you want to come to my house for dinner? I was like, yeah, bet. So I go to his house that night for dinner. And
This episode of the Shoes Off podcast is brought to you by your sneakers' favorite socks, Apothecary. Now, I'm here in the Apothecary warehouse. We've got tons of different styles and colors that match perfectly with all of the sneakers and the fits in your collection. If you haven't yet tried out Apothecary socks, what are you doing? Make sure to check us out. We make the most comfortable socks out there. They're soft, they're breathable, and of course, they fit great because of our proprietary IsoWeave technology and our material blend. So make sure to check us out and use code SHOESOFF for $10 off of your first order on our website. That's code SHOESOFF. It's in the show notes down below. It's in the description down below. Also, the link, apthcry.com. So make sure to try out a pair of your new favorite socks. They're comfortable, they look great, and they match everything in your collection. And of course, your sneakers will love you for it. So again, check us out at apothecary.com and make sure to use code SHOESOFF for $10 off of your first purchase. With that being said, back to the episode.
it's wild, okay? So I go to his house. James Jebbie of Supreme is also there. I obviously knew of Supreme already. Supreme started in 94, so this is 99, right? Five-year-old Supreme brand. This guy named Hiroki Nakamura, who would eventually create a brand called Visvim, was sitting there as well.
Wow.
And then over here, there was a barbecue, and like this guy was like grilling shrimp on the Barbie kind of thing. And it's Eric Clapton. And he turns around, he's like, hey, Jeff, would you like a shrimp on the Barbie? You know, I was like, this Eric Clapton, Hiroki Nakamura, and James Jebbie are just sitting here with Hiroshi Fujiwara, and I just sit down, and that trip and that night just like changed my life. Forever.
Yeah, understand.
Forever. Yeah.
Shoot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And James and I we have a funny relationship because, so James is the founder of Supreme, but he's also the founder. He did 3 amazing things. He's the founder of Supreme. He's also the founder of Union. People don't know that.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
He also owned the Stussy New York City store at the time. So Stussy, Union, and Supreme is all one man. Okay?
Wow.
I used to shop at Supreme and Stussy, and he would be working there. So we would always do the head nod thing, you know, like, what's up? Good to see you, you know, whatever. And then when I started Staple, I wanted to sell Staple at Union. And so Union was a buyer of Staple. So he like was familiar. We weren't like homies, but he's
Right.
like, oh, you're Staple. Yeah, we buy your shirts. And you're the kid that keeps coming in and spending at Stussy and Supreme. Like, got you. I know you know. So
That's dope.
and then to be in the Hiroshi house on that level was almost like a cosign for him to be like, yo, this motherfucker is in here with us now? Okay,
Yeah.
with Eric? Got
How
you.
old were you at this time?
I was, I can do math. Hold on. I was 24.
Okay.
Wow. So you were very, very young.
And
Yeah,
Staple was
that's-
1 year old.
Staple was 1 year
Wow.
old. Yeah. Yep. So then
That's
that article
incredible.
comes out, and it's the first time that all of this is exposed. You know, I in that article, I also interviewed Paul Middleman,
Oh,
who
wow.
was the creative director of Stussy, Marcus, Hiroshi, you know, Homeo from Atmos. Like, it was the first exposure of this whole thing. And then what was dope is many years later, like 20 years later, like when Virgil really blew up, rest in peace, he did an Instagram post where he took pictures of every spread from that article on the Fader. And he said, when I was a kid in Chicago and I read this whole article, it changed my whole life. And he posted every single spread from that. And so that's like
incredible.
the full circle moment of street culture, man.
Oh my gosh. That's really, that's like one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. That's incredible. You met like literally all the dudes.
The
at-
Godfathers,
Yeah.
including yourself.
And then you influenced the dudes. Like, you know, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then that's how I ended up at Beaverton.
Wow.
That's how it happened.
And after that, was it like a snowball effect? After obviously
Yeah.
the dunk was hugely successful. Everyone knows that. But
Well, don't forget the dunk came out in 2005. So if I'm in Beaverton in 2000, there's 5 years until the Pigeon Dunk comes.
So how many sneakers did you work on in those 5 years?
So I mean, there was the like I said, the Cortez and the Riff were first. Then it was the the navigation pack, which was a Shox NZ, an Air Burst, and an Air Max 90 in men's and women's. And then there was the Nordic pack, which was an Air Force One, a Dunk, and a Blazer.
Oh, wow.
And then there was an Air Stab that I did. And then, and I was doing a lot of internal work for Nike too.
Right.
Like annual reports and like recaps and stuff like that. Like when Mark Parker, who was at the time the president of Nike, when he would come to New York to the headquarters to visit, they have to build out like a big parade for him, essentially, you know, like redo the lobby, redo the conference room so that like when he comes, he's like, yo, New York's doing a good job for Nike. You know, they got to do that song and dance.
Of course.
I would design the showroom, the
amazing.
lobby, and the conference room and create all the tchotchkes and the materials so that Mark would think like New York's doing a good job, you know? So I was doing that type of stuff.
That's amazing.
Flyers, invites, almost every invite and party that Nike was having in New York, I was designing the flyers for.
Right. So you had literally had, at that point, even you had a hand in every kind of design possible. That's
They wanted to
amazing.
hire me actually full time.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted to bring me in.
What made you say no?
They said I had to stop doing staple.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then another monumental thing happens. My old friend Marcus, back in Japan, calls me up one day and he's like, bro, I got a new job. I was like, oh no, you're leaving Nike? He's like, no, I'm still with Nike. He's like, I'm going back to America, to Beaverton, because Sandy Bodecker at Nike, he wants me to help him restart Nike skateboarding. If you, for those who know, this is Nike's second attempt at skateboarding. Their first attempt failed in the early 90s. They tried Nike skateboarding. So they said he wants me to give it a go and he wants me to lead it. So Sandy Bodecker and Marcus Tayui would create Nike skateboarding, okay? And so for those who know, Nike SB stands for Nike skateboarding, but it also stands for Sandy Bodecker, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there was one that you lean towards more than the other. Or is it just, you just take them as both? I mean,
Take it as both,
Take it
yeah.
as both, yeah.
But here's what people don't know. Marcus was like, can you help us design the first Nike SB website?
wow.
Can you design the first Nike SB catalog? And we need 10 t-shirt graphics. Can you design all the t-shirts? I did all of those things for the beginning of Nike SB. The first website that was done in Macromedia Flash.
Wow.
For those who don't even know what the fuck that is. But it was beautiful. And it was all about treating the skateboarder like an athlete, because that was Nike's thing. And so, yeah, I created that whole thing to launch Nike SB with them.
That I didn't know that. That's really cool.
That's
Do you
incredible.
have like an archive of all this
Yes.
stuff at your
Yes.
house? Of
Kim has it all. She knows where it is.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Are you eventually going to set up like a space where you have it all kind of laid out and all?
So 2027 is the 30th anniversary of Staple. And I am exploring, should there be an exhibition or like some sort of, like, I would love to do it in a museum. I'm just going to
That'd
put
be
it out
amazing.
there, like, you know, to have the full retrospective of all of this stuff. Because a lot of people don't know, you know, like I read those comments where you're like, what else has he done besides put a pigeon on a shoe?
Right.
Well, now you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to do that. So yeah, to go back, like I designed all these different sneakers for Nike. And then came probably in 2003 where Marcus called me and said, hey, we have an anniversary of the Dunk coming up soon. I think it was the 25th anniversary of the Dunk. We're doing this city series where there's going to be like a Tokyo Dunk, a London Dunk, a California Dunk, as you guys know, a Paris Dunk, right? Just in concept, he was saying, he's like pitching me on it.
Right.
Like, we don't know what the Paris Dunk is yet. Like, he's just saying, we're going to probably do like a Paris one, you know, like.
So you didn't know the scale?
No.
You had no idea of what it was going to be.
Of course not.
Okay,
Of
fair
course
enough.
not.
I don't think anyone
Nobody
did.
does. You have to, that's what kids got to remember is like, there's no hype yet. It's just
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Just fucking work, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, so we're doing like maybe a Paris one, a Tokyo one. So like, would you be down to do the New York City one? Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, would I be down to do the New York City Dunk? I think that's a yes.
Yeah. Oh my
You know,
gosh.
yeah. And then he's like, cool, let's you know, give you a couple weeks and we'll hear your ideas. We'll fly you out. We'll pitch it, you know. So we thought about this idea of like, man, what if we just fucking turn the sneaker into a pigeon, you know? And of course we played around with the idea of like a Statue of Liberty dunk or a
Right.
New York City subway dunk or an Empire State Building
Yeah, you
dunk.
got to,
You
yeah.
got to.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? These are corny, man. Like,
Yeah.
I live and breathe New York. I want to do something that only a true head would understand, not a tourist.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so I pitched this idea of the pigeon, and pretty much my first draft looked exactly like it does today. There was zero design change, no rounds of design change.
Wow.
But what Nike wanted to do was kill the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, when I pitched the idea of Pigeon Dunk, they were like, again, pigeons are vermin. Pigeons are flying rats.
Okay.
Why would we make like a rat dunk? Like essentially like vermin dunk. It's not cool for us, you know? If you old guy living in Beaverton, Oregon understood the pigeon dunk
Right.
and what it meant to New York, then I failed as a designer. Like this is the reason why you asked me to do this is to get that cultural nugget that you guys couldn't get, because if you could get it, you would just do it yourself.
Yeah, they'd make a
Right.
Statue of Liberty.
Exactly.
Or something like that,
Right.
yeah.
So they were like, I kind of checkmated them into an argument that they couldn't get out of.
Right.
They're like, true. I was like, just trust, man, just trust.
That's the communication again. I feel like there's not a lot of
Exactly.
people who wouldn't. There's people who maybe could have had an idea based around a pigeon, but they couldn't have communicated it the way that you did, and exactly the way that you said it. I feel like there's no other way they would have gotten it.
I think about that all the time, man. Like, how would Kanye have handled himself
Yeah.
in that situation? He would have flipped the table. You know what I mean? But like, I feel bad. I'm like, man, if you just had your delivery better, you could do so much, you know? And so, yeah, I managed to convince him that like the Pigeon Dunk was the way. And then on February 22nd, 2005, the Pigeon Dunk released, and
You made history.
yeah,
Literally made history. What was that like? What was that release like for you? 'Cause
very, very stressful.
I bet.
Yeah, it was very
bet.
stressful. I was very scared for my business, my employees. You know, I thought people were going to get arrested or hurt, you know. You don't Monday morning quarterback this. You don't think, how do I make this so that it becomes $100,000 on StockX and it's in museums? Like, you're just trying to get through that day. You just release the shoe safely, you know?
Yeah.
There's cops everywhere, NYPD, SWAT, newspaper reporters are there, the news are there. Like,
Right.
I'm embarrassed. I'm like, this is bad publicity. Nike's going to be mad about this. And they were mad the
Really?
next day. They were very mad.
Because it was bad PR.
It was bad PR. You're on the cover. It's the first time a sneaker's ever been on the cover of a New York City newspaper.
Right.
And it says sneaker riot. They don't want that. You know, the last time they were on the cover was Sports Illustrated, very famous cover where it's a pair of Jordans and it says your sneakers are your life.
Yeah.
And that sent the stock tumbling. So they don't like any of this kind of publicity, you know? So I was really, really scared
When did they realize that it was a good thing?
that day.
That day.
Really?
That day when they saw, you know, this is early eBay, but like the shoe only cost like $75 MSRP.
Wow.
But it was already like 300 and 1,000 that day on eBay.
That's nuts.
And then it's funny, the head of Nike New York City at the time, she was like, she called me up and like tore me a new asshole because of how mad she was, right? And then her assistant calls me 5 minutes later and she's like, I overheard the conversation, Jeff. Like, I know she sounded really mad, but between you and I, she just sent me out to buy as many New York Posts as possible with the cover because she's actually really proud of this too. But she, as a formality, had to like yell at you, but deep down, she's really stoked. Like this is
That's
a big
amazing.
moment, you know? So I knew something had shifted at that point where there was campouts before, there was resell before, but now because of the exposure this got, it became like, it went from subculture to like culture.
Yeah. Mainstream. It became truly one of the most iconic sneakers of all time.
That was the first collaboration, right? Or the biggest at the time. First.
In
Sneakers.
in sneakers, no, it
Other
wasn't
than
the first collaboration.
okay.
There was definitely collabs before that, but it was the most exposed, I
Right.
guess. You know, before
Right.
that, it was like 50 kids camping out.
Yeah.
Not 50, like 20 kids camping out. You know, that were before that. But this was like it just put it on another level. And I think going back to like footwear design, it's a simple design, right? On purpose.
Right.
Like I had a muse in the pigeon, and I wanted the shoe to look like a pigeon. But as you guys know, these are design decisions.
Yeah.
You can have the pigeon as a muse and not make the shoe look like a pigeon still. You could go crazier. I could have covered the whole thing in feathers if I wanted to, right? But I wanted, as a true sneakerhead, to make something wearable.
Yeah.
Like the Paris Dunk as another example, which came out in the same pack. The Paris Dunk to me is not really like a wearable sneaker. It's like a piece of art that sits on a mantle. But I didn't want a piece of art. I wanted a wearable shoe that you could wear Monday through Friday and nobody would even care. But for those who knew,
It was a
would
neck
know-
breaker.
It was something different about this. You know, that's what I wanted, and I think that goes into the lore of the pigeon. You know, I think if I designed the pigeon to be this art piece, it wouldn't be what it means today. It wouldn't have the longevity, because like Pigeon Day now, you know, February 22nd, every sneaker blog is like, this was the day that the pigeon came. It's become like a national holiday in the culture. And I don't like, there's been a lot of dope sneakers that have come out over our time. Like there's no Air Mag Day. There's no Undefeated Jordan 4 Day. You know, there's no Paris Dunk Day. There is a Pigeon Dunk Day, because that was the day the culture shifted.
That's cool.
It really was. I mean, that newspaper is like, whenever you do any kind of searching into sneaker history, that newspaper just
there, yeah.
it's there.
The
like
newspaper is on eBay. Like
the
news
wild.
covering it is on eBay, not to mention the shoe itself.
Literally in my head while you guys are talking, I'm like, I kind of want to buy this newspaper.
Yeah, I kind of want to get. I want to get that like PSA slated. Like I
Oh,
want it
yeah,
like
absolutely.
framed up and chipped.
Oh my gosh. Well, I would be remiss not to ask a question that I've been wanting to ask for years. How limited was it actually?
It was 150 pairs.
Really? Okay.
Yep. 5 stores
Okay.
in New York City got 30 pairs each.
Wow.
Yeah, Supreme, Recon, shout out Stash,
Mm-hmm.
DQM, shout out Dave Ortiz, KCDC, which is a legendary skate shop, and Reed Space.
Wow.
5 stores, 30 pairs, 150 pairs total.
Like the Business of Hype was my favorite podcast.
Thank you.
while
Thank
were
you so
doing it.
much.
How did the business side work? I mean, in the early 2000s, you were a young
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah.
Like, how did they pay you for that? Was that like you were just hyped to do it?
If I recall, I think I was on retainer with Nike because I was doing all these other projects. So I was getting just a monthly from Nike.
Okay.
This rolled up into that.
And
it was
you were just
included.
hyped. You didn't really care.
And then I didn't have to pay for the shoes.
Yeah.
So I got the shoes for free. And then the publicity. I mean,
Amazing.
Those are obviously good decisions.
Well, mathematically speaking, I got lowballed, right?
Yeah,
but
fair.
also, if I was greedy, I could have negotiated myself out of that deal. Like if I was like, bet I need $100,000 to do this, they'd be like, okay, we'll call somebody else.
Right.
You know, so I would imagine that happened. That would have been nuts.
It would have been a different world. I mean, sneaker
Yeah.
culture would have been completely different.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would be.
I know.
Yeah.
But so you just had like a X amount per month or to just do all creative stuff that you're doing. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
That's a retainer. Yeah.
And you're doing this on top of Staple as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
And other projects.
Right.
We had other projects too. So we had Staple Clothing, we had Reed Space, the store, and then we had clients, like client work.
So how did Staple Clothing get impacted after this, all this publicity from the shoe? I imagine you had so many more eyes on the
Yeah.
brand because
Yeah.
of the press.
Yep. It put the brand on the map globally for sure.
Were you like staffed to like figure out the next day when everyone was like trying to get? I assume that happened.
No, we weren't staffed and ready, but we made it work. But yeah, it definitely did a lot. But you know, at that time in 2003, Staple is now 6 years old as a
Right.
brand, right? So we weren't like some Johnny come lately nobody ass
Right.
brand either.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you know, 6 years as a brand is already something that even a lot of brands today cannot achieve.
Yeah.
You know, so we already had a solid standing and footing. And I mean, I had like designers, salespeople, marketers, you know, retail people. Like I had a team already at that time, you know? So yeah, it was good. And I forgot a shoe that we designed even before the Pigeon Dunk, which was the whole Nike Considered project.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this. It was Nike's first foray into sustainable shoes. And so we were very, very closely tied. Like I named Nike Considered.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
And I was involved in the first packaging. Reed Space was the first store that ever launched Nike Considered. So we were brought on to like tell the whole brand story without making it sound too granola and like hippie-ish.
Right.
Right. And so they wanted to do something sustainable that was positive for the earth, but was still fly and dope, which is why they brought us in for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you design it, I mean, you've obviously designed tons and tons of sneakers. What's your design process like, and what do you feel like is the most important part of that process?
If you think about the word street culture, right, it derives from the term people on the streets versus people in a runway fashion show or people that are editors of a magazine or something like. So streetwear and street culture really is pointed at regular folks who take the subway, buses, and trains that have a hardworking hourly job and are just trying to figure life out. That's streetwear, right? And so to answer your question, my design process always starts with, at the time this project eventually will come out, what are the streets going to think? That's my thesis. You know, what will like the UPS driver want to wear under his uniform?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where I go to. And so not to say that we can't elevate from there. We can. We show in Paris Fashion Week every year, but I want it rooted in that. I never want to make something that like only Anna Wintour will fuck with, you know, or only Balenciaga would understand. Like,
Right.
That's that world, cool. I personally think that world is built on a lot of smoke and mirrors and bullshit. I want to build something that is much more rooted, you know? Like I remember, I mentioned the UPS guy because I remember in the height of COVID when we were all on lockdown, but UPS was like a necessary worker that had to deliver packages. And, you know, I was still running Staple and Staple was still operating and you could still shop online. We had no retail. I remember the UPS guy was delivering something to me and I guess he recognized me. He knew who I was. And he was like, yo, bro. Opens up his UPS uniform and had Staple on underneath. He's like, I just copped these, man.
That's
and I was
amazing.
like, that's better than any fucking CFDA, Vogue, Mag, you know, like
sure.
runway cosign, man. This is a man who's fucking putting in his heart out, is risking his life right now to make money. And he spent his money on my creation, on my bird. That shit was like so eye-opening for me, you know?
That's
what it's all about.
Do you remember the first time seeing someone wear your products, whether it's shoe or clothing,
Vividly.
that you didn't give it to them for
Vividly.
free? Yeah.
Vividly. 1998, 3rd Street and St. Mark's Place.
Wow.
I remember the intersection and everything where I saw a guy wearing a hoodie that I designed. I didn't know the guy. He must have just bought it somewhere. And I was like, oh shit, he's wearing Staple. That
Did you
shit
go
is
up to
so
him
dope.
or you just
I did go up to
admire
him.
from far?
So I do this. So I go up to him. I'm like, yo, that's a dope hoodie. Where'd you get that? He goes, didn't you design this? I was like, oh my God, I'm
that's so
embarrassed.
sick.
I don't know how he knew this is pre-internet. I don't know how he like connected it, but that was a moment. And I still, every time I see somebody wearing Staple or carrying the shopping bag around that I don't know, it still
Right.
gives me like chills. It's still really dope to me. And I wonder if like Ralph and Tommy Hilfiger still feel the same way. Like, do they still get chills when they see someone wearing polo? I wonder.
I have no idea.
I know.
I have no clue. That's a really
I
good
wonder.
question.
Could be jaded, but maybe not.
Yeah,
Maybe not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so tell me about what goes. Like one thing I'm always really interested in with sneakers are material choices.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm sure every brand has a different way that they kind of, or every brand has certain materials they let you mess with, certain parts of the shoe they let you mess with, and other parts that they don't. What goes into your thought process around picking the materials for a shoe?
Materials come very late for me.
Okay.
Material, color. It's CMF, right? Color, material, fabrication.
Yeah.
All come quite late for me.
So you're storytelling first.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I'm storytelling
that.
first. Yes. I don't know. I feel like, especially with footwear brands, they've got armies of people that are working on color, material, fabrication. You know, like they don't need me for that. But what they do need me for is authentic storytelling and some sort of perspective. So I come in with that. And I think a great collaboration is when they tell me what the latest and greatest is with tech, innovation, materialization.
Right.
I come in with the use case for it and the application for it. And then that's where like we can really do something incredible. We just did this great project with Vibram.
Oh, cool.
Where they created this technology called StratX, which is taking rubber pellets and forming them, vacuum forming them, so that it feels exactly and behaves exactly like leather. But it's not leather. It's completely vegan because it's made out of rubber.
Right.
So they showed me this tech and they were thinking of ideas. And I was like, that's not really how I would use it. And they're like, how would you use it? Right. And so we created this slide where the top of the slide on a luxury slide that is normally leather, we made it StratX. And then we because you could vacuum form it in any shape, we made it into like a pigeon wing pattern.
That's sick.
Right. And we made this really beautiful high-end slide. And that's where it's like something that they would never have thought of. You know, they're thinking like hiking and performance and mega grip and stuff like that.
Right.
But we're like, no, let's put it on the top, you know? And actually, if you think about it, Vibram never goes above the midsole.
Yeah.
Like, they never do a whole shoe.
Yeah.
You know, so this is one of the first times that you can wear a whole Vibram shoe from top to bottom, you know?
That's
Yeah.
sick.
So that's a great example of like how I come with the messaging, the storytelling, and the application. They come with the technology. And then I think that's where, we really come together.
What advice would you give to younger brands to kind of go to these larger companies like Nike or smaller to get collaborations?
Don't.
Yeah.
That's if you learned anything from this, it's that like it's just nowadays, like, think about it. Here's the thing too: have empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in the position of the guy at Nike who's deciding who gets collaborations. He's probably getting 100 requests a day.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably more.
Probably more.
Yeah.
Right. So put yourself into that guy's shoe. Right. And now you're gonna put your brand on the top of the stack of 500 other brands that want to collab with Nike. Like, he's just gonna be like, enough. He wants to be surprised by something that he or she is discovering out in the world, right?
Right.
So instead of trying to figure out a way into the Nike door, figure out a way to build something so that it catches their eye.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ideally in a way that doesn't get you sued, because that is happening a lot today.
Yes, it is.
Right? People are mistaking like getting their attention by getting sued, which sometimes could work.
Yeah.
Anything is possible in this day and age. But yeah, I think do you is really the motto here.
If you have motion, they will come.
Yeah,
Basically,
exactly.
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense. How do you feel about sneaker culture in the moment? Like, I mean, obviously you have a Brooks collab, which I freaking love.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
is so sick. How do you feel
This
it?
is the next one.
Those are crazy.
Yeah.
I saw you when you walked in with those. I thought those were friends and family, but those are actually dropping.
We are dropping these Black Friday.
Ooh, okay, let's go.
I don't know when this podcast comes out, but maybe this is the scoop on them.
I
That's
like all the
sick.
reflective.
I do
like
too.
they're
Yeah,
glowing as you're walking in.
Yeah. And get this, we're only making 121 pairs for 21 Mercer.
That's wild. Are they dropping exclusively there, or are they dropping online
Yeah,
as well?
exclusively there.
Okay, well, I'll have to be there around Black
Yep.
Friday then. So tell me about what you think about the current, I guess, the wave in culture, like the retro runners, the 3D printing stuff. I mean, Nike's still doing stuff, but it doesn't seem like they're as, I guess, in the spotlight as they were. Like,
No.
how do you feel about the current landscape?
I love it because there's like selection and choice now,
Totally.
Which allows sneakerheads to express themselves more widely. You could be an A6 guy, you could be an NB guy, you could be a Hoka guy, or you could be an On guy, you could be a Solomon guy, or you could be a Merrell guy, and so it allows all these different players. I don't really love it when the sneaker wall at your local store was all swooshes and then one row of 3 stripes and Yeezys, and that was it. Like, I like it now that there's a lot of variety in stores. It actually puts the power back into the consumer's hands, because they get to dictate what makes them look fly and what they'll support now, versus when it becomes too monopolized by one brand, then it becomes, what does the brand want you to wear,
Yeah, you got to have these new 4s or else you're not it. You know
and
what I mean?
you know what? It's even more manipulative than that, because if you think about advertising and marketing, sponsorships, celebrities and influencers, retail, think about like you're on the gram. Oh, this celebrity's wearing the shoe. You are on the bus. There's an ad of that same celebrity wearing that one shoe. You go into your store. There's a banner ad of that celebrity wearing that one shoe. Now you go in and look at shoes. You're probably going to be preordained to like buy that shoe. You've been influenced by one voice.
Right.
But now if you've got 10 voices, you now have to make a decision, which is great for your brain when you have to make a choice.
Totally.
So I really love it. And this selection that you have on the table here between Zellerfeld, Clarks, and Brooks, after coming off of designing the Pigeon Dunk, is a testament to that sort of like wide breadth that I love to play in. And I love the challenge. I would say a year ago, I don't think people were checking for Brooks.
No.
Not sneakerheads.
Not sneakerheads, no.
Right. So to take a flyer, if you will, or like put this brand on my back and be like, let's see what we can do with this. I love that challenge,
And it's great for people like shoot, even myself, like there are brands that I maybe didn't know about or maybe didn't experience myself. I had some experience with Brooks, but like your collaboration on Brooks got a lot of people trying Brooks and realizing these shoes are dope. Like these shoes are comfy, they look good, they're wearable, and especially in a colorway that you killed like that, like it's a dope shoe.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just love what you're doing, and I love the fact that you're willing to work with so many different brands and so many different mediums. I think that's really rad.
I love the challenge. To me, it's like, it's kind of, I was gonna say it's kind of boring to work with like the Jordans and the Nikes of the world. I would love to do something with Jordan, right?
Right.
But it is like, it's a layup in a sense, you know? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, earlier this year, Sneaker News, I think, rated like the top drops of 2025 so far, right? And it was like brick by brick,
Yep.
you know, it was like, you know, Travis, it was like the usual stuff, Jordans, Nikes, you know, and then this was in there.
That's awesome.
And I was like, wow, that's dope, because nobody checked for Brooks before, you
Yeah.
know? So to enter that atmosphere with a brand like Brooks is not easy. And I think those who know that, like, wow, Jeff really like brought that in, you know? And I love that challenge. It's kind of like, it's like graffiti, where like, I want to put my logo and my stamp on as many different surfaces like a graffiti artist would. And sometimes in graffiti, there's like that overhang that is like really hard to get, or like
Right.
that train that you're like, that whips by that you're trying to get on. And so to me, a brand like a Brooks or like a Crocs, when we collaborated with Crocs back in the day,
was a
you
cool
know,
collab.
or Cole Haan is another one that we've worked with a lot. Like, that's an office brand. That's a brand that you wear to your 9-to-5 cubicle job, you know?
Yeah.
To fuck with those brands is really dope, because that's like a high bar of execution and design acumen that needs to be achieved to make that work. Because it's not just like slap your logo on a Jordan 3 and of course it's gonna work. Like,
Right. The Cole Haan buyer is not looking specifically for a Jeff Staple
No.
shoe. You know what I mean? Like,
They might not even know.
and the Jeff Staple customer is not looking for a Cole Haan.
Yeah.
So to make that work is like, it's a, you know, like in gymnastics, they have like the difficulty score.
Yeah.
Like, that's a 10.0 on the difficulty score.
For
you know?
sure.
But I like those challenges.
has there been any shoe in particular? Obviously, I mean, you've got a bunch. I'm not going to ask you your favorite because I feel like that's not a fair question. But were there any that you enjoyed the design process of more than others? Were there any that were maybe presented a challenge that was like, wow, actually, I really love this?
I would say Nike Considered. That was the one. I mean, if you look up the tenets of what considered meant, you know, it had to be, if I'm not mistaken, I'm reciting this from memory, but like, it had to be a totally closed loop manufacturing process. No glue or adhesives are allowed to be used in the making of the shoe.
Wow.
Yeah. All of the parts and components that make the shoe needed to be within 100 miles of the manufacturing plant.
Wow.
Okay. You needed to check all these boxes in order for it to be titled Considered.
Right.
So that once you have those rules, it changes the whole way you make shoes. And so
Yeah.
it's also going to change the way that the shoes look. But it comes from a place of like function versus form, you know? So I really love working with like the people that worked on that project at Nike. You know, shout out like Richard Clark and Jesse Leva. They're like the black belt level nth degree nerds at
Right.
Nike. You know, like you just can't have the sportswear dude who like changes a colorway work on a project like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not that dude. I'm not the footwear shoe dog. But for them to have the wherewithal to be like, let's have Jeff bring this in to storytell it. So I wrote the manifesto, I named it, created the branding for it, all the packaging, and then the rollout. Like, in order for me to be a part of that process was an honor, just to watch how they do their thing, you know? Yeah, so that was really dope. And then just this year, I saw, I think it was Dior, or maybe JW Anderson. I think it was JW at Dior, did a Dior version of the Nike Considered shoe.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it's cool to see it full circle, you know?
That's amazing. What got you into starting your own footwear line? Like, you've got your own staple
Yeah.
shoes now. Like, how did that begin?
Yeah, it was just time. It was part of that 25th anniversary, like, go
Right.
big or go home thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's time for me to start building the platform, because we are this brand that, like, not many brands in the industry are older than us. So we are kind of like the triple OG in that category.
Yeah.
And like, what if I were able to build a platform where I can identify the 20-year-old version of Jeff Staple today in 2025 and be like, yo, let's do something together and like, let's grow together, you know? So I wanted to start building that platform, and it just made a lot of sense to finally have your own shoe. It's not easy. It's very difficult,
Yeah.
but I'm in it for the long haul. Like, there's been a lot of like startup sneaker brands created by young independents that like have a 1 or 2 shoe run. Like, they hit hard for once and then you never see them again, or it was too close to a Nike, so they get
Yeah.
sued or something, you know? So like, it's difficult, but like, I think if you position it more like that generational thing, like what's it going to be 25 years from now? I'm starting that kind of conversation with. We only have 3 silhouettes,
Right.
which is actually a lot for an independent brand.
For sure.
To have 3 silhouettes. And we have a 4th one coming pretty soon this fall. So yeah, so it's been fun just to do stuff on our own and not through a collaboration,
Right.
while also having the ability to do collaborations. You know, get the best of both worlds, if you will.
I'm sure
It's a very blessed place to be. I acknowledge that. Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm sure there's a lot of learnings that went into it too, because now you're I'm assuming you're paying for the tooling, you're paying
Yeah.
for all this stuff. Like it's not like you're literally doing everything. So has
Yeah.
that been a much different experience than collaborating?
Yeah, it is because I kind of like designing sometimes with a guardrail.
Yeah.
And like, you know, when you work with a company, they're like, here's where you have to stay, here's the budget, here's the timeline. So like sometimes that makes designing more fun
Right.
and easy because you're just solving this problem. But when you're just designing your own shoe with no guardrail, no budget, nothing. I mean, there is a budget, but like you kind of, you know, dictate it yourself.
Yeah.
It is a little bit more paralyzing, you know, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, I think it's going to be dope to see how this progresses in the future. You know, if you think about it, like the other 2 brands that we mentioned, Stussy and Supreme, they don't have their own footwear lines yet. I don't know if they are, but they don't, you know, like that shows how hard this is. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember when we were debating internally whether we should even do it, I was like, maybe there's a reason why Stussy and Supreme don't have their footwear line, you know, like maybe this is really hard. So, but I think that mentality that says, let's do the Brooks, let's do the Cole Haan is
Right.
also like, let's do it. Let's fucking try it.
I love that. I love that about everything that you've done. Like you really do go for it, and you're willing to experiment. You're willing to try things. I
Even
think
the
it's incredible.
Zellerfeld, you know, like,
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you feel about, so I guess that kind of leads me into one of my more final points. It's how do you feel about the future of not only footwear, but fashion? And I mean, obviously Zellerfeld is taking their own approach to it, like a 3D printing sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Like where do you see fashion and footwear going?
I really do believe in Cornelius and what he's building at Zellerfeld with 3D printed shoes, but also just the idea of doing something on demand.
Yeah.
I think is inevitably going to be our future. Here's my prediction. I'm going to say it on record so you could quote me on this. I think within our lifetimes, there's going to be a mandate that prevents people from making whatever the fuck they want.
Wow.
And I think that mandate's going to come from an environmental standpoint where if you even want to make a t-shirt, like you need to apply for a license to do it.
Right.
Because every t-shirt that now gets made is literally damaging the earth.
Yeah.
Right. And there's too much silly shit out there in the world. So some committee, maybe I should fucking form this committee and be on the head of the committee, but some committee is going to be like, just like the DMV, you are qualified to operate a vehicle. Because if you're not qualified, you're operating a killing machine. There needs to be that same thing for design and production. That's my prediction. So I think within our lifetime, there will be this sort of like permit that's required to make something. And then B, as you can see with the advancement of what Zellerfeld has done in a very short amount of time, I also believe that in our lifetime, you're going to walk into a store. I don't think stores are going away, but you're going to walk into a store that will have zero inventory, that will have all the products on display. They will be indiscernible from a regular shoe.
Right.
Like Cornelius is going to get so good at this that you're not going to be able to tell the difference between that and that. And then you're going to say, I want that in this color in a size 10. They're going to say, go get a cup of coffee, come back, and it'll be done.
Yeah.
That's going to be everything.
Yeah.
And this will become, like traditionally made sneakers, will become the Porsche 911 air-cooled engine of footwear. Like they'll still do it, but it'll be like vinyl records, coffee table books, and manual shift automobiles.
Like handmade leather shoes.
Yes.
Or today. Yeah,
It'll be artisan.
Yep.
It'll exist. But why, when there's no inventory, no environmental waste, and it's indiscernible? I think this is definitively the future. That's my prediction. You could hold me to it if you want, but that's what I think.
Awesome.
It's a cool future. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think so too. Better for everybody.
Yeah.
Agreed. There's not, like you said, there's no waste. We did a podcast with Cornelius about a couple weeks ago, and he showed us some of the printed leather that he has now.
Yeah.
It's
You could
wild.
get the color depth and everything. Yeah.
It's nuts.
Corny and I go back, and he loves showing me like all his little new innovations on this
That's
like
dope.
secret like signal group that we have, you know. So I love seeing it. But also you think about from a pure business standpoint. Let's say you're a sneaker store owner, right? You're not a designer. You just want to get sneakers. And then here you are sitting at a $100,000 Nike bill because you had to buy size 5, 6, 7, 13, 14. You don't know what's going to sell, right? And then at the end of the season, you're sitting on all this inventory.
Yeah.
You can't pay your bill. Nike's going to be like, we're closing your account. Next thing you know, you're going out of business. What Zellerfeld is doing is creating a solution to that entire supply chain problem.
True.
You know?
True.
Yep.
How do you think that your version of, I guess, the retail future would impact like culture, like the streetwear culture, sneakerhead culture?
Great question. My initial reaction is I don't care. Sure. Right? Because I never was a reseller or a customizer or anything like that, right? So I only care about the first line of transaction. Like I design something, someone buys it.
Yeah.
After the resell,
It's out of your.
it's out of my hands. I can't really determine that part, you know?
Yeah.
So if there was no inventory and the shoe is only made based on its actual demand, hence there's no hoarding, there's no aftermarket value, you know, why would there be?
You
Maybe
scan your foot, you get a custom size, so it's not even 910.
Maybe what's going to happen is something along the lines of this. Like, let's say Cause makes a Zellerfeld belt, and he's like a fine artist, so he wants his things limited, right? He will tell Cornelius, print 100 and then destroy that machine and erase the file.
Wow.
The 3D file.
Yeah.
And that's done.
Yeah.
It's a bit manufactured, but it gets to the same thing that can never be made again. You know?
That's the
So
right
maybe
people
that's
thing.
how it happens. And then there's value on that limitation, you know? Maybe.
I wonder how that affects like sale racks. Like, you know, for example, like I love going to the Nike outlets and seeing things that maybe you wouldn't have expected not sell out. I wonder if that completely gets
There would be no sales.
There
'cause
will
it
be
would-
no sale. We don't want that.
Oh man.
Sales is like overproduction.
Yes.
Fair.
Sale rack is the one step before landfill.
Fair. You're right about that.
Yes.
You are right about
it's
that.
the
yeah.
last chance. So we don't want sale rack because that leads
That
to
makes
landfill
sense.
next. Yeah.
That
there
makes
will be no
sense.
Nike employee store anymore.
Yeah. Oh man. I still haven't gotten to go to the Nike employee store.
Oh,
yet.
really?
One day Nike hit me up. There we go.
It's not as good as it used to be.
I can
It used to be much better.
So, are there any comments that you see online? Like, this is one question I like to ask designers that I've sort of looked up to. Like, I know that you're aware of everything that goes on online. And you see how people receive your art and your work and things like that.
Comments, DMs.
Yeah. Are there like misconceptions that you see that you wish you could be like, listen, if you just knew, if you just understood, like if I could just answer this thing for you so you don't make this stupid comment. Like, are there any things like that?
So many. I think I have a pretty good defense mechanism and force field. You know, I'm pretty self-aware and confident in my body of work. You know, one of the ones I most often see is like, all this guy has done is put a pigeon on a shoe. That's probably the one I see a lot. And I feel bad for the person who says that, to be honest, because like, they're so like horse with blinders on that like in this day and age of like the ability to have information at your fingertips, like dude could literally be, if he took the time to write in a comment,
Yeah.
this motherfucker only put a pigeon on a shoe, hit send with his name attached to it. He didn't just go to Chat GPT and been like, what the fuck else has Jeff Staple done to educate himself, right? So I feel bad for that guy because he chose hate over education, you know? And he's probably like in a really bad place in his life too, because he probably manifests that same attitude in everything to his wife, his parents, his kids, whatever, right? So I feel bad for that guy legitimately. Secondly, it also tells me that in this day and age of over information and saturation of just like overload,
Yeah.
I have to do a better, more efficient job at telling my story. I can't make a coffee table book from Rizzoli that's 300 pages and expect these kids to read that book. I have to do this podcast. I have to do a TikTok. I have to like speak their language if I want that person to understand what I do. So it's also a challenge to myself of how can I be better at that, you know? But it's wild to me. Like you mentioned the business of hype, right? And you said it's your favorite podcast, and I thank you so much for that. I interviewed over 120 people on the business of hype that was published on hypebeast.com. There's other people that is their whole career. Like I was the host of such and such show on Hypebeast.
Yep.
I died, and that's my whole thing.
Yeah.
That was one aspect of my life. And so for that kid who said, what else has he done besides the pigeon dunk, and not recognize and not connect that dot, I'm like, what else do I have to do? You know, to like tell this dude, you know? So yeah, I do observe these things, and I try to take the positives out of them and like be better.
That makes sense. And I feel like, honestly, you know, asking yourself this question and some other people, it really does seem like people just need to research and look into things before they make uninformed comments.
Yeah.
Or thoughts, you know?
It could not be easier today,
Yep.
you know? But yeah, I mean, in this day and age, it's just like there's no excuse for not learning, because you don't even have to type it in your phone now. You just literally just talk to chat.
Yeah.
Just like, tell me about this motherfucker Jeff Staple who thinks he's so great. And it'll just tell you, you know?
Yeah.
So please just lift your hand and do this. Like, this is all you have to do. Like, I had to go to the public library with my card and take out a book and take it out, return the book, or I get penalized. You just have to do this.
Yep.
Like, just flex that bicep like that.
Well, Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Same here, man.
Is there anything that you've got coming up that you kind of want to tell the people about that maybe?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our own retail. If you're in New York, definitely come stop by 21 Mercer, which is, for those who know, the original Nike lab that we took over and turned it into our space. It's special. It's magical that happens.
Yeah.
I can't plan that shit.
And I'm glad that you're the one that took it over and not some random, like,
Sneaker resale store. That
yeah. Oh my gosh. 'Cause they pop up everywhere. They last about 5 minutes and then they're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But we're continuing with growth on our retail stores. I want, you know, we're gonna have Shanghai soon. I want LA soon. I want Hong Kong soon. And these retail locations are really gonna be like community flagpoles that represent like their area with like an antenna, like a physical antenna. And then if I have enough of these antennas all over the world, they start talking to each other, right? And then I've created like this global network. Now, some of you might be like, that's fucking Instagram or the internet, right? Like, yes, but this is a global network of in real life community experiences.
Like on the ground, talking to the people in the culture every day.
Shake a man's hand type shit. Give him a dap and have a conversation that goes way beyond leaving a message in the comments or DMs. And just even in the 6 months that 21 Mercer has been open, I've seen the power of that firsthand so strong, you know? So I want to build more of these and create more of this, because I do think that in real life experiences are going to be the new luxury for us. Yeah, I think so. Like in this day and age of AI, you know, I'm sure it's already happening to you. When you scroll Instagram and you look at a post, you're not sure if it's AI created or not. You don't know what's real and you don't know what's not real, right?
Yeah.
And it's only getting worse.
It's only getting worse. We're only really in the first year of AI, right? So in 3 years, no one's going to know what's real and fake. In fact, you're going to assume everything is fake at first hand, right? So if everything that you're looking at through your fucking glasses or whatever is all fake, you're gonna, as a person, seek out shaking a hand and like being face to face with someone, and you're going to pay a premium for that. You're going to pay a ticket for that. You're going to wait in line for that, because everything else in your life is fabricated. Yeah. So I think the new Birkin bag, the new LVMH will be like sitting across the table from someone, shaking their hand and having a real conversation, because you know that your eyes aren't tricking you like, oh, I can touch you. It's amazing, you know? Yeah. So I predict that. So that's why I want to set the groundwork now for that in the future.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's very
the irony is that even though many people are scared of AI, that like it's gonna, you know, take jobs and transform the world, the double-edged sword here and the irony is that AI is going to actually teach us what it means to keep it real. It's going to show us true humanity. Yeah. You know, that's what my prediction is.
That's
cool. Beautiful.
And I think that's a solid prediction.
You like that? All right.
Yeah.
You co-sign? Cool.
I completely agree. Well, Jeff, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you. Yeah. Guys, make sure to check out everything that Jeff has going on in the description below and in the show notes. As always, thank you so much for watching the Shoes Off podcast, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Some socks
This is
for
not.
you.
Is this? Well, everything's still recording. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess this will be on. Yeah, if you. Yeah, sock bag for you. Yeah, check out
Thank
Apothecary
you.
Socks. Yeah.
So a small anecdote about Apothecary.
Yeah.
I got sent a pack a couple of years back. Whoever sent it didn't do a very good job at like seeding because there was no thank you card. I literally just got a pack and I was like, man, these socks are dope. I wear them all the time.
Do you really?
I do. I love it. Dude,
That's so sick.
I notice all the details because the foot part is very thin and aerated,
Yep.
but the top part is very chunky and warm, right? So I noticed the engineering in that, and I love it. And I was like, but I have no idea who sent these. I have no idea to get more. Like, I can't even really say the name. Apache. I was like, what is this? And then so it's you guys.
It's us, yeah. So we probably
That's
mailed
wild.
out the package, but we were not involved in who got the seating. So that was not on us. The note, we would have sent you a note, absolutely. You know who you are, who sent that out, by the way.
Thank you so much.
But yeah. So yeah, we do our socks. We spent the last 5 years designing them from the ground up. Like I said, we're both industrial designers. We've had like 4 different iterations of the socks now, and they're all. We don't do sublimation. We only do jacquard and embroidery.
Jacquard, that's
Yeah.
the secret.
Yep.
That's why the letters and everything are like stitched in.
Yeah,
so
Exactly.
well, yeah.
Like, you know, you've seen those printed socks, like the SpongeBob.
And then they
stretch
rip
out.
apart. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, and it means they're softer. It means they last longer.
Do you do a no-show yet?
We
Do
do.
you have no show?
Yeah.
Do you
all
have
the
no show in
lengths.
here?
Unfortunately,
No, but if you'd like some, I will send you some with the
Yes.
note.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
You do all the sizes?
We do
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. If you ever need socks, hit me up.
Thank
Or
you.
hit us up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.